I'm Sahar Hashemi, and I'm here to talk about startup mentality, how to create it, and how to keep it as your business grows. Coffee Republic really started from, almost accidentally. I just remember I'd left my career. I had no idea what I was going to do. And it was just this one trip to New York. I go down Madison Avenue looking for a cup of coffee, and I come across these American-style coffee bars, and I had never seen anything like it. I'd never seen the choice, the way they do things, and I just fell in love with it. And when I came back to London, I just couldn't believe we didn't have it. And so I casually said to my brother, I wish we had those New York-style coffee bars. And his reaction to me was, oh my God, that seemed like a great business idea. And that's how it happened. We went very quickly from sort of being a real startup, real kitchen table, to becoming a big company. And that brought with it a sort of huge change of personalities that I saw firsthand. The thinking back then was that when the business becomes an adult, it's time for founders to let go. People would come with processes and systems and say, oh no, you can't do that. This is not how you do things. This is not industry practice. You're just a founder, sort of well done for starting the company, but you're not really good at running a business. Sometimes you think you've just been lucky, and maybe they're right, maybe you don't know. And I sort of lost confidence in myself. I thought I was just passionate, and passion was flaky, and passion didn't mean anything in business. Passion wasn't business-like. I used to think startup is something you grow out of, but I've learned through hard-won mistakes and lessons that actually startup is something you've got to fight very hard to maintain. There's something really incredible when you start a company, because everyone comes together, around the customer. It's this sort of sense of sort of mutual purpose. And as you increase in size, you get more people, you put more structures in. And by definition, the more people you have, to control that, you put more bureaucracy in. As your business gets bigger, yes, you need processes and systems, but just realizing not falling into the trap of bureaucracy, because it kills the emotional core of the company. Every process, you look at it and see, is there a reason? Does it serve a purpose? If it doesn't serve a purpose, you've got to get rid of it. Almost bureaucracy busters. And I think that's a really important thing to do. I think actually language is quite powerful, and you have to check yourself on the language and become aware that when you hear sentences like, this is how we do things, or this is how we've always done it, the alternative phrase immediately should be, let's try it. There must be a simpler way. What else is there? This sort of open, curious language, because all these words seem to have gravitas, but they shut curiosity, they shut innovation off. It's comfort zone language, and it's not productive for anyone to use that sort of language. When you're a startup, you know that if the customer's not paying, that there's no business. So your boss is your customer in a way. Look at your business not from your own eyes of how you want to sell your product or service, but through the customer's eyes looking in at your business. Do you know what the customer's problems are? Do you know what keeps them up at night? Do you know what they really enjoy about what you do? How well do you know your customer? How much does pleasing the customer inspire you? When you're out there in the customer's world, what you're getting with your own eyes is real world feedback. You're not sitting in your desk reading the market research and what numbers were there and why they were low. You're actually seeing in real time the customer experience. And your mind is open and you're curious and you're finding little solutions to problems customers have got. And these solutions are these little sparks. It could be something that you're not quite sure, and you've got to develop it to become a big idea. And in big companies, there's a lot of pressure. You've got the idea, put it on paper. How is it going to make money? Show me. And it's impossible. And the idea is just the starting point of something. So you've got to encourage people to have the small ideas and run with them and develop them, rather than wait for the perfect first game-changing idea to come, because that's a complete illusion. They don't happen. At Coffee Republic, because we were our own customers, I was spending all my time in the stores. Because I was in the store, you can't help but notice the customer experience. And I could see, especially at the weekends, people were bringing their little children, and the children didn't really have that much to be excited about. So I sort of invented actually the baby cap. I remember the name, and it was in a little espresso cup. And instead of espresso, just like the parents, we put hot chocolate, so it looked like it was espresso, and we put the special foam and the little cocoa powder. And so just, it's tiny stuff, and but in the grand scheme of things, it creates that connection where the customer feels, I like this brand, I'm going to come in again. They're providing a solution for my problem. When you've got an idea, just pursue it. Just see if it works. Do it on a very small scale. Experiment it on 1 or 2 customers. Experiment it in 1 store if you've got 5 stores, not in all the stores. Do it small, start small. And then you can see if it works. You can see if you can improve on it or whether or not you should just completely throw it in the bin and start again. When we do something new, the knee-jerk reaction of everyone, including the consumer, is to say no. We naturally, intuitively reject innovation and new stuff. And once you factor that in, you realize that actually getting a no is part and parcel of getting to the yes. Because innovation's a process. It's not the linear, wow, amazing idea, all the yes all along. Innovation is, you fall, you get up, you fall, you get up. I think if you can change the way you view rejection, that's a real game changer. And you realize that actually people can say no to you, they're not even thinking about it. And you've got to give yourself that stickability to get rejection after rejection and see it as a natural part of the process. People don't realize that there's huge fear in companies, and this fear of failure is endemic, it's enormous, because especially the more success you have, the more you fear failure. The only way to remove this fear of failure is actually celebrate failure. And so I know a lot of companies that actually give failure awards, and that's the only way to deeply sort of uproot this fear people have, because by celebrating it, it shows people, actually, you know what, I'm going to try, it might fail, but that's okay. We don't punish people. It turns off the fear and actually turns up people's creativity. Culture is not something set in stone about your company. Culture is actually the sum total of individual behaviors, and it's not static. It's not, it's just how you behave every day sets the tone for what your culture is. And very much as a leader, you set the tone. So if you change the way you behave, if you change your focus back towards the customer, by definition, almost by osmosis, everyone will be faced towards the customer because they see that as a priority of the business. So culture is something that changes every day, and realizing it's not static, it's hugely important. And it's the tiny stuff that make a difference with culture. For me, the startup mentality is really easy. You go to the customer, you get the ideas, you get what problems the customer's got, and then you solve them. And in order to do that, you have to get rid of the bureaucracy. You have to keep yourself free to be out there thinking about customer, not internally focused. You have to have an open mind. You have to be curious. You have to ask the right questions. You have to be not afraid of getting a no. And you've got to pick up those small, unbaked ideas and just run with them. And at the end of the day, once you do all these things, you are well on the road to innovation. And you can look back and think, wow, something changed. We did something differently. And it's something we're proud of. And it's always worth the journey.